Now tuning in to Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.
How does it feel to be in a digital recording space with two people going through their Saturn return?
Oh my god. I'm so glad that you're bringing this up. Wow.
I just need to set the tone for my...
Yeah. Wait, do you know this? Do you know this because I've been tweeting about it, or...
So, let me just pull back the curtain real quick for you, my dear guests that I'm genuinely very excited to have here. One of my favorite things that I don't think Cody likes that I do, but I do. I enjoy
no, it's
is I channel my inner Sean Evans when we have a guest come on, and I have a very lengthy iPhone Notes app right now with about 16 questions for you and a lot of screenshots from your online presence. I know too much about you. Is the answer to that question.
Elly becomes a capital J journalist when we bring on a guest.
The problem is, this is my favorite thing to do, and no one asks me to do it, and so anytime that I get the opportunity to, channel and deep dive into someone, it just gives me power and energy. And so I get to do it here, and then Cody used to be like, oh, fuck, so this is Elly, unfortunately.
This is just a thing I can't tell her to stop doing because there's a mortal need, and I appreciate it. It is fun.
Yeah.
We have a good time.
A, quote, good time, you know?
I'm excited to hear the questions that you ask.
You say in fear. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I say in fear.
Fear and trepidation. Yeah. Welcome into Twilight. It could be worse. You know what I mean?
Hey.
We could actually like Stephanie Meyer here, you know?
That's so true.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm genuinely very excited to have our guest here. I don't get excited about things often. Just gesturing wildly at the world, you know what I mean? This isn't a current events podcast for so many reasons. But Elly, I'm very excited to have you here. So thank you. Thank you for looking at a vampire podcast coming to you with their arms open and be like, please. And you were like, oh yeah, sure. I can block off an hour of my time for that, I guess.
I've been looking forward to this, so thank you.
For anyone who has the audacity to not know who you are, would you mind telling everyone who you are and what you do? There's 16 different things that you do, but maybe one of them to share with people.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. My name is Elly Belle. I am a trans non-binary writer and journalist, poet, community organizer. It would take forever to list out all of the different things that I do. I use they, them pronouns. I am an internet person. Like an internet gremlin, I guess, but I'm really not as, the interesting thing to me is I have built my career off of being really online and knowing a lot of things and just understanding the mechanisms of online, but I'm really not as online as many people think I am. I carve out many, many hours a day where I do not touch my phone, and my phone is in another room or it's off, or I'm just not on social media. Basically the way that I interact with social media is I log on and I post stuff that I want to post, and I try to scroll as little as possible. I keep up with current events and what's happening so that I know what's going on, so that I have context for what's going on in the world, and then I log off. I'll post a lot of memes and stuff on my Instagram story, and I'll post stuff on Twitter and whatever. But people have this perception of me as being very online. Even some of my closest friends, I've had to really set boundaries with them and be like, hey, you say some things sometimes that make me, that are really frustrating, and kind of frame me as like being super online, but I'm really not. Like, I have a lot of really healthy boundaries with like technology and social media and like stuff like that. And so I think like an interesting thing for me is that a lot of people have this perception of me as being very, very online. And I am, in the sense that I understand what's going on online, and I understand what the current memes are, and I understand what the discourse is, but it is such a small part of my life because I have so many boundaries with social media. And so the interesting thing is like that I have this reputation, and I feel like it's a huge part of my reputation that I'm very online, both, you know, to people who like have parasocial relationships with me online, and also to some friends, and also like I'm really just not super online. I spend you know, a lot of my time doing like, I don't know, like rituals that are healing for me, and like cooking and baking and reading and writing and composing music and writing poetry and doing like art and doing crafts, making things. Like I do so many other things, and like there's just so many other things that are like a huge part of my life that aren't being online. And so I'm very fascinated by this understanding that people seem to have of me, that I'm just like online all the time just because I post. And the thing is, yeah, I post a lot, but I also type 250 words per minute. Right. And so, and I talk fast. And so it's like, yeah, I might post 50 things on my Instagram story per day, but that means I was on for 10 minutes. Right. And like, I might post 50 things on Twitter per day, but that means I was on for 10 minutes. And then I logged the fuck off and I lived my life. So, I feel like that's like, at this juncture of my life and my career, I feel like that's a really important thing for me to state, that like, I'm not a very online person. There are a lot of things that are way more important to me. You know, I want to like write my little articles and do my work and write my poetry and whatever, and do my community organizing and do the things that I do and do like the cultural critique I do and all of the things I do. And then I want to like live my life. And, yeah, I don't know. I think it's so interesting, this inherent kind of belief and understanding and framing we have of people who post a lot or are up on current events or are like journalists or are in the media industry in some sense, as that means that you're really online. And I would just correct the record.
Hell yeah.
It's that Gemini's second house, you know, like you work.
Oh my god.
You work.
Oh my god.
You work. You talk a lot for your job because you got it, but then IRL, you use a flip phone and a Walkman because that's just like your truth.
Wow. Yeah. You've clearly done your research.
Yeah, we are very pro logging off here.
Absolutely.
On this here show.
You got it.
Huge fan of logging off.
Huge. It's so good. So underrated.
You got it. You got to do it. I have some questions for you that I would love to know, and for the class to be able to know to get to know you just a little bit more. The very important one for me personally, which I've written verbatim as, so you like birds. Why? Could you defend these dinosaurs, please?
Oh my god.
I'm so scared of them.
My question.
I'm so scared of them.
Okay. I know so many people who have said this exact thing to me, and I really don't understand people being afraid of birds. Like, I respect it, you know, you do you. I guess, how do I sum this up? I grew up with birds. We like always literally? Had birds as pets. Yeah, like we had birds as pets.
Oh, okay, shit.
Like we had, yeah, like we had a few cockatiels and like parakeets and a parrot or two when I was growing up. My dad really loved birds, so we always had birds. A few of them died in like really tragic ways, so we kind of like cycled through some of them. But from the time I was like, I don't know, I want to say maybe like 4 or 5, like we always had birds. So I grew up with them, and I always had like a lot of reverence for them. But I also grew up spending a lot of time in nature, and I also was always so fascinated by the fact that they are, you know, essentially dinosaurs, they're descended from dinosaurs, and they always were just kind of magical to me. And I have a really strong connection with birds. I've always had a strong connection with, like, the phoenix, you know, rising from the ashes. I am a phoenix of sorts. I've lived many lives and have risen from the ashes many times. I really, I see birds, like, in certain times in my life, in certain places, that it feels like impossible to see this, like, rare bird, and it feels like it's like a sign from the universe to me. And I will kind of, like, walk around in my daily life and find bird feathers when I'm, like, on the right path, and every time I, like, find a bird feather when I'm, like, walking, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm in the right place. I'm where I'm supposed to be. What's happening now is, like, supposed to be happening, which, like, I don't know, might be woo-woo to some people, but, like, it's been really, like, special for me. And yeah, I just have a really deep connection to birds. I get that they could be scary, but ultimately, like, I don't know, I think I've just had such a relationship with them that I've been able to connect with them as such gentle creatures that I don't really feel like they're a threat.
Speaking of important messages and awakenings, do you feel like you had the most important, like, sexual / gender, maybe both, awakening from Jennifer's Body or the Antonio Banderas Reed poster?
Damn, Sophie's
Great
choice
question.
right
Wow,
here.
You really have gone so deep into my Twitter. Wow, I really want to know, like, how many hours you spent scrolling through my online presence.
Like 30 minutes.
You know, wow, that's incredible. I don't actually really know if I can say either. For me, my sexual awakening really, really came from, like, Buffy.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Jennifer's Body for me was more of like an abolitionist affirmation
Yeah.
for me, and not even an awakening, because when it came out at the time, I was already, like, a freakish little kid, basically, or kid who just, like, had all of these, you know, politics already and had read so much, and so I kind of already had an abolitionist politic from a very young age, but Jennifer's Body was very affirming of that. So it wasn't even very, I mean, I was like, yeah, these women kissing is, like, hot, and this is gay and great, and I'm, like, into this, but it was more of an abolitionist thing for me. I'd have to say that my sexual awakening was very much Buffy is
That's
one
a
of the main
great
ones.
choice.
Yeah, I feel like as soon as you see a Chris Pratt cop jump scare, like, that really seals the deal. You know what I mean? At a young age, it's like, in terms of
Yeah,
It just hurts so
I always
much.
forget. Yeah,
it helps move the needle for sure. I'm sure, like,
All right, this is my last question. I don't know why I wrote this like a multiple choice question, because it's not. I just want to know your opinion. All right, if you could gift one discography to Ella Enchanted, would it be A, Olivia Rodrigo, B, Joni Mitchell, C, Regina Spektor, or B, Hozier?
this is such a great question. Wow. I feel like these are the types of questions that, like, I ask people, not even as a journalist, but, like, as a person. So I just really deeply appreciate this, because I'm always asking questions to people in my life like this, and they're just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, like, let's combine worlds, you know? Like, let's really get into the nitty-gritty of your brain here. And people are always like, Ellie, I don't think like this. And I'm like, okay, well, I fucking do. So I appreciate this.
So maybe you should be neurodivergent. How about that? Maybe your brain just can't see multiple things at once.
Definitely Olivia Rodrigo. I mean, come on, the line, who am I if not exploited?
100%.
Ella is all, you know, that's, like, the whole thing. I really would gift Olivia Rodrigo's discography to any struggling teenage girl, fictional or not, who needs to learn how to just, like, sit in their feelings, because something Olivia Rodrigo is so good at doing is just, like, sitting in the feelings. Like, she marinates in that shit. And as someone who marinates in my feelings and really, like, gives myself a bunch of space to feel them, and then often takes my feelings and, like, you know, does something creative with them, like poetry or music or an article or essay or something, like I really just appreciate and admire when someone can marinate in their feelings and then clearly like just feel them so authentically and then allow themselves the space to also put something out into the world about them, because that is a talent, but it's also a skill.
You can tell she has a therapist,
and it's like
for
a
dad.
hard.
It's so good.
Oh yeah, it's a hard one skill, and I just really respect that. So yeah, would recommend Olivia Rodrigo to anyone, any teenager.
Yeah, Miss Ma'am
fictional
knows how to let it linger, and I appreciate that. So
God,
much.
and we need
Yes,
that.
yeah. I mean, I've been listening to the new Olivia Rodrigo album nonstop for like a month and a half now, and it took me a while to get there, but I was like, why? I was like, I don't relate to any of this at almost 30 years old. Like, why can't I stop listening to this? And then I realized, like, okay, my inner 17-year-old is having like a lot of feelings, and we're just gonna give her a moment, and I'm just gonna feel through this. And we're almost on month 2, baby, and my inner 17-year-old won't shut the fuck up, and I've just accepted that we're just gonna let it happen and keep listening to the Olivia Rodrigo until we have healed some more wounds.
Yeah,
I feel that a lot.
It's fair.
I love it. I'm on bated breath. I would love to know your Twilight backstory, because you did say you did this to yourself. I will say that your middle name is Vampire. So could you tell us a little bit about your backstory with Twilight?
Yeah. Oh wow. Where to start?
No.
Where to start? God, when did Twilight come out? It was like 2005. 6?
Yeah.
2005, 2006. So I read it probably in like 2006 or something, like whenever, like shortly after it came out, and I, read the whole series, and I went to the, embarrassingly, like went to the midnight premieres and whatever at movie theaters with friends, and we were like all obsessed with it. And interestingly enough, like I think that I was obsessed with almost, like, I don't really know how to describe it, but I want to say, like, the queer subversion of it all.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though I, like, wasn't out at, like, God, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. I definitely, like, knew that I was not straight and not cis. But I wasn't, like, out, and I didn't have the language for that really yet, except for what I had gotten from Buffy, from, like, Willow and Tara and some stuff.
Right,
yeah.
But I really loved vampire stuff, and I was just deeply fascinated by this, like, world that Stephanie Meyer had built. But I also knew that it was, like, bad, Right. But then, like, when the movies happened, I was so obsessed, and I went to the premieres, and at one point, God, when was this? This was like 2000, this must have been 2008, like after the first movie had come out. And there was, I will preface this, but I mean, anyone who follows me on the internet knows this, and everyone in my personal life certainly knows this, but I am very, God, I wouldn't even say that I'm obsessive, because that's just not true. I'm just very, very passionate about anything that I, like, really care about. And so, I had a period of time in, like, 2008 after the first movie came out on DVD where, back when DVDs were still a thing in the way they were in 2008, and Netflix still, did things that way. And I had the Twilight DVD, and I had a period of time where I watched that. I watched it at least once a day, every day for like a year.
Oh no, you're in good company.
Like literally,
no,
I'm not kidding. And I had a horrible relationship with my mom. Like, my mom was very abusive, and I'm, like, estranged from her now and everything.
You were in such good company.
You
are
for real.
The one thing we bonded over, for whatever fucking reason, was Twilight. And she would, like, watch it with me, and we wouldn't talk. Like, we would not, we wouldn't talk, but we would just watch Twilight together. And at the time, I thought that it was, like, maybe because I was super obsessed with Edward. It turns out that I, like, had gender envy for Edward. And also, Kristen Stewart is super hot, and I'm gay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was just, like, that combination. But that was kind of, like, my Twilight origin story. And then, I kept watching the movies through the years, and I, like, knew they were bad, but I, like, was like, no, but this is my type of bad that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of, it's such an important part of my life where at least twice a year, I have to sit down and, like, marathon the movies and watch all of them and just really, again, I'm going to use the word marinate again. I just really have to marinate in them. And I notice something new every time, and some new cultural critique pops up for me. And I feel like it's made me really sharp as a human being to have watched the Twilight movies so many times.
Hell yeah.
There's just some new lesson that I learn about humanity or human behavior or psychology or something every time. I really appreciate it. It was a great means for that. But yeah, I mean, I could say so many other things, but, like, I think that's the gist. I'm very gay. It's bad in a delicious way. I also have, as someone who's been studying religion my entire life and sexuality my entire life, and then also majored partially in religion and some sexuality studies in college, I mean, Stephenie Meyer's brain is just
a lot going on.
A rich ground for so much there, with her weird Mormonness and all of her weird, just all the ways that Twilight became a thing came to be in her mind. And I could say so much more, but I'll stop myself.
How excited, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for K-Sue's gay ghost hunting show?
I mean, I'm in the midst of watching screeners and writing an article about it. So
10?
10. I mean, this is what it is the show that I want and that I deserve. And I've kind of, at the moment, carved out, like, a queer haunted beat for myself at Teen Vogue, and I'm super happy about that.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited about it. I am so fascinated by Kristen Stewart as a human being. I would really love to, like, have a conversation with her someday, because I just think we would have, like, a really interesting conversation about, like, a number of things. And I really like the way that she kind of, like, approaches the nuance and complexities of, like, spirituality and like ghosts and what all of it means. And I mean, I'm excited because I think that it's so rare in our culture that we get I don't even want to say content, because I kind of, like, I hate the word content for so many reasons and in so many ways, but it's so rare that we get media and art and storytelling that is rooted in not queer identity, but, like, queer lived experience and the mystical, and this, like, connection, honing in on and focusing on this connection to ourselves. That when you think about connection with yourself, with your identity, with your experiences, it's a lot of vulnerability. And I think spirituality and the mystical requires a lot of vulnerability to step into and, like, believe. And so this combination of, like, spirituality, the mystical, ghosts, all of these things, plus queer identity is just, I mean, it's so rich. It's such a, it's so rich to pull from, and so I'm really excited about this show.
Hell yeah!
And maybe this show will be out actually probably by the time
it will
this
be.
Right,
episode comes out. So
I'm I've never been more excited for anything in my entire life. It's, oh my god, I'm so excited. Did you, when you were still in your Twilight phase of like reading the books, going to the midnight premieres, did you start watching the Vampire Diaries at that time? Were you an early adopter?
Was it the books were out then, right?
Yeah, because the book started in like the 90s. Yeah.
Okay.
But the show came out in 2009.
I'm trying to right. No, right. I know. Oh, I'm very familiar with the time period that the show came out in, because I can't remember which episode it's in, but like just within the first like 3 episodes, by the way, I also did my homework for this. I went back and I watched like the first 5 episodes of season 1 because I was like, I need to revel in the context and have all this like context. Because it's been forever. It's been since like high school that I first watched the first season. It's not one of those shows that I have like rewatched obsessively like Buffy is for me, for example. But I'm deeply aware of the time period because I was watching this week the first few episodes, and there was like, oh my god, what, I can't even remember. There was some I can't remember. There was like some pop punk songs in there. There was Gravity by Sarah Bareilles.
Oh my god!
Episodes. I don't remember.
We dove deep into that.
And I was just like, this show, man, like it just really puts you in that fucking time capsule.
This week alone, by the way, we got 303 and the Black Keys.
Yeah.
So thank you, CW, for your continued service. I will say, I don't want you to give me spoilers on this, Elly, by the way, but Cody, I'm just letting you know ahead of time that if they put the fucking script in here,
Stop.
I'm gonna shoot myself into the sun, because
you know it has to come up, right? Like, you know.
I know, but if we get into like 2 seasons from now, like, because I think that song, I think their like main break came out in like 2010, 2011. If the script comes out, I'm gone. Yeah. I'm so scared for the songs that I put the quotes of on Tumblr to shit.
Yeah.
I'm so gone.
Yeah. There's so many musical jump scares we haven't even faced yet. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much to uncover.
Wait, what was the original question was when I
started watching,
when I first interacted with it. So, okay, so I don't remember what year this was, but I remember, oh my god, it was like 2000. It must have been like 2007, because it was like when the Twilight craze was starting, and I was in maybe it was 2008. I was in like 7th grade, and I remember being in, I don't remember what class it was, but I remember being in middle school. Maybe it was 2007, because it was like the last year that I was in a physical school before I was homeschooled for 2 years before high school. And I was in a class with someone, and they were reading the Vampire Diaries, and they were like, oh my god, like, have you read this? It's like Twilight, but it's like blah, 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 and you should read it. And so, you know, I like read a little bit of it, and I was like, oh, okay, like interesting. And, you know, even again, as a kid, I was deeply obsessed with different vampiric stories. And then when it came out in 2009, I watched it. I was very much like, you know, in high school, I was watching, it feels so weird to like say this combination of things because it feels so random, but it was like in high school I watched like Vampire Diaries, Pretty Little Liars, How I Met Your Mother. Like, I think that those were some of my main shows, and I'm just always like, what?
No, you just had taste. You were just like a complex human being.
It was a time, you know.
and then I would spend like all my time also rewatching Buffy. But like, yeah, so I first interacted with it like from the get. One of my favorite things was always all the music choices. I'm a huge music person. I've been playing and writing and composing music my entire life since I was a very young child. And sound, what do you call it? Their job, not sound directors. I can't. It's evading.
The music boys.
But the people who, the music boys who do stuff for shows have always been my favorite. And I just think that's such an incredible job to have, and you have such an opportunity to affect the way that the story is being told and how the audience is interacting and engaging with the narrative and what they're getting from it and what they're understanding without words, and even
or
body
chemistry,
language and what they're getting from the music. Or totally. And so I've always really, really respected and admired and been in awe of that job and how much it takes to pick the right song for the right moment. And there are so many moments in the Vampire Diaries that it's just like I don't really know how I feel. I'm like, yeah, that's a really good song. Why is it here? And I just would really love to talk to the people, the music boys of the Vampire Diaries, and just be like, so what were you thinking in this moment?
For the class, just so that they know, we did let our guests choose the season 1 episode that they wanted to be on. Did you choose Friday Night Bites because the fact that you wanted to see the history teacher get got? Is that the reason? Because this dude's a fucking piece of trash?
Yeah.
God, there were a few reasons. 1, 3 is one of my lucky numbers. Fair. 2, I didn't want to get too deep into the season because I knew that I wanted to, like, give myself the time and opportunity to go through, like, the first episodes and, like, really, like, marinate in that context. And I didn't want to overwhelm myself by, like, going 6 episodes in.
Yeah, that's fair.
You wanted to go to your Teen Vogue editor and talk about why a 17-year-old Caroline has a teddy, a tattoo, and a toe ring? Why does a minor have lingerie?
Oh God, there are so many questions for the Vampire Diaries. But at 3, I fucking love a pun. Okay, Friday Night Bites. Come on,
hilarious.
It's so hilarious. Wordplay. I love it. What else? I'm trying to remember because there was a reason that I was like, oh right, this thing happens in the episode, and it's really like fascinating to me, and I like kind of want to get
Bonnie
into that.
having
but
a
I
spiritual awakening.
I mean, I love Bonnie so much.
Same.
And I'm just gonna say something that's gonna sounds insane depending on who you are and how you think of this stuff, but I like don't care. But like I have like ancestral lineage, like witches and magic and stuff.
That is the least surprising thing that you could have said, to be honest.
Sure, right? Yes, everyone who knows this about me is like, yeah, sure, go on. I'm,
right.
Sure, yes. And anyone who knows me personally is like, yes, that makes sense. And I have family from Salem, and I go back to Salem every year, and I personally grew up there, and it's like a really important place to me. And I fucking love Bonnie's character.
Same.
I fuck with Bonnie so hard.
So heavy.
She's so great, and she has so many layers, and she goes through so much. But I love Bonnie, and then also like I just think that in general, the first several episodes of this show really set it up to be one of the queerest. I mean, okay, first of all, vampirism is inherently queer.
Right.
But this show, this fucking quote-unquote straight-ass high school drama show is so queer. Like, there's so much yearning in it.
Oh my God.
And that is so apparent in the first several episodes especially, and it really sets it up that way. And I was like, I just need to pick something from like the first several episodes. Like even there's something queer about the way that Damon like kind of approaches Elena. Like I don't know, like there's just it's all very queer and strange, and I was like, I need to go with something in the first several episodes. But yeah, so that's why I chose episode 3.
And you're correct.
Yeah.
Everything about that is correct.
Right.
Because the first 3 episodes of this are the least straight thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So you're right, is the answer. I agree, Bonnie is the love of my life in the show. I'm so pissed that they're doing her so dirty with her hair, though. Yeah. Why do we have the money for the Black Keys in 303, but we don't have the money to give Bonnie better hair? What's up with that?
Because Hollywood is deeply racist.
I mean, yes. It's just
even to this day.
It just makes me so mad. I will say, Cody, I know we talked about this last episode, about Stefan and his fucking Confederacy special interest. It does seem like it is expanding to just be
the universe. Right. Because I love, too, that his cover is like, oh, I just love crosswords.
I'm just a loner. I'm just a
I'm
guy.
a loner and I like numbers. It's like, okay, buddy.
I'm just a loner.
Fine. Let's go. Yeah. It's like, enough. I'm sick
he
of
keeps
this man.
saying it, and Elena's getting, like, hot for it. And then she says, oh, I'm just a gloomy graveyard girl. And he's like, damn. What the fuck's wrong with these two?
God. I hate
God,
them.
well, we can't get into that or we'll talk for 2 more hours.
There's too many things. I will say, aside from the fact that Friday Night Bites is like a really good, love it, thank you writers, I appreciate you so much. What really like freaked my bean with this is I finally realized what Mark, who I keep calling Mike Newton, I recognize him from. Homeboy was in Friday Night Lights.
Oh, so there's like literal.
It's like a
crossover.
Wow, there are layers to
this. He wasn't on the
goodness.
football team in Friday Night Lights.
Okay.
He played a bad cowboy who came in and for a couple episodes and like took one of the like main character girls off track.
Wait, I love this
Wow.
so much.
So
the lore is
One of my
expanding.
favorites.
So the writers knew
The lore is expanding.
like there's multiple layers to the joke, which I appreciate. So thank you, writers. As always, you're my favorite thing in the whole world.
Oh my God.
Was not expecting, in any sense of the word, to get a football player cheerleader thing from because Stefan and Elena do not give that vibe at all.
No, like it seems so. Like I remember seeing like screenshots and stuff
but
before.
that is part of the queerness of it, though,
right?
If I may,
You're not wrong. I agree with you.
A little bit of gender performance. Yeah, I see it.
literally so much. Okay, may I like go on a tangent?
Absolutely.
Here. Step. I'm holding your hand. Go.
Amazing. I'm stepping onto the soapbox. So, I mean, so much of this show, in a similar way to Twilight, is gender performance.
Yeah.
And I don't even know really how, like, in Stephanie Meyer's case, it's like kind of intentional because so much of Mormonism and her weird ass, relationship to sex and sexuality and gender and everything is gender and sexuality performance, because that is inherent to the church, to the LDS. But also, like, with Vampire Diaries, like, I don't really know how intentional it is or not. Like, I don't know that much about the writer of the books, and I don't really know that much about the writers of the show. Based on the fact that it came out in 2009, I want to say that it probably is not super, super self-aware, because that's not the type of TV writing that we were really getting at that time period. But, like, just the gender performance of it all, it's so fucking queer, and it's so, like, richly layered, and it's like that is, I mean, I just remember being in high school and doing all of these things, high school and college, even after I had, like, come out as, queer, non-binary or whatever. Like, so many of the things that I did were gender and sexuality performance in ways that, it's taken me years to even understand, that I'm still having realizations about why I did and said certain things, or why I, like, dated certain people. And so, like, this thing where, Stefan and Elena are, he's the football jock and she's the cheerleader, and then they're both these, like, weird, like, queer in the other sense of the word, of just being strange and odd and out of the usual, is so bizarre for them and so unexpected, but is also kind of, like, right, based on just that they are both trying to fit into society and culture and then the smaller pond of high school in a really certain way so as to not stand out, so as to not be too noticed.
Sure.
And, you know, Elena has all of this stuff going on with, like, her parents' deaths and
Elena said, I can't be a cheerleader because I'm depressed. Like, girl, look around.
Right.
Everyone here is depressed.
Right. And but it's like she's also trying so hard to, like, fit herself into that role so that she can kind of just, like, get on with her life and be what is expected of her and be what she once expected of herself. Because, like, I know a really large part of grief
is hosting dinner parties at 8 o'clock at night when you're 17. Yeah.
Literally.
Yes. A big part of grief, I in my experience, and I guess I can't really talk for anyone else, but a big part of grief in my experience that I see in Elena, especially in these moments in the earlier season, is that sometimes when you are grieving and when you've had this really big life shift, you have this version of yourself that you were before, and you are trying so hard to fit into that and be that person, because if you can do that, then there's some sense of continuity and normalcy.
Yeah.
And you just really see her character trying to do that here and fit herself into that box. So it's almost like, yeah, everything's different and everything's horrible and she's grieving and she lost her parents, but if she can fit into that cheerleader role, then, like, maybe she can just, like, carry on with her life. And, like, there's also something, again, in the traditional sense of the word, as in, like, the strange and bizarre, there's also something very queer about grieving, right? Because part of the society and culture that we live in, and I think this is very, very tied to kind of the society and culture we live in now. I won't say that it has always been like this, or that it is even like this in every like place. Like, I think this is a deeply Western thing. Right?
Yeah.
This is a deeply, like, American thing, because I've lived in and engaged with a lot of different cultures, and this is not as much of a thing in many of them. And it really depends on what culture. But, like, part of our culture in America and in the West is you're not open about your feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
You have large feelings and you shut up about them unless you're an artist, like a musician or an actor or an artist who can take those things and put them out in a way that we can consume.
Yeah.
That's consumable, you know? And otherwise, you're really supposed to shut up and
hide
just
in a
deal
graveyard
with it and stuff it
Yeah.
down. Totally. Yeah, hide that shit. Bury that shit, right? Bury that shit 6 feet deep. And so there is something very, I would argue, inherently queer about grieving out loud and grieving publicly. And so I would also argue that is, like, a really queer part of the Vampire Diaries, because there's so much grappling with grief in ways that are out loud and make people uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, I could rant about that for, like, 10 million years than I do in books that I'm writing and things like that and articles, but that's my spiel here.
I love it.
Hell
That's
yeah.
great. I have a question. Where the fuck was Aunt Jenna during this dinner party? Where was she?
What's going on? Listen,
She's chilling.
she needs a
living her
minute
life,
to
you know?
herself, okay? Yeah, she's like...
She's got to take a break from being a new guardian.
But
she's
these
taken
kids
on a lot
were
of responsibility.
drinking wine. I think. Well, I don't know what else they could have been drinking in in these, like, stemless wine glasses. I just have questions. This dinner party was my favorite thing, by the way.
Yeah.
In this episode, even though, like, the rally at the end was fine or whatever, but trying to see Elena buy pasta, not make pasta, it was just spaghetti.
Just
buy pasta and then pretend it was hers is very good.
So good.
It was very good. And the fact that Stefan was trying to force Elena's hand and not invite Damon in at the end, it was my favorite.
Oh my god, that was so funny to me
Yeah.
because he goes, "Can you invite me in?" And like Elena has this weird reaction where she's like, "Why is he asking? Like why doesn't he just come in?"
Like, this guy is way too formal.
Right, and Stefan's immediately like, "No, he can't," and he's like trying to like cut Elena off from like actually
good.
He's
inviting
gotta
him in.
go.
And it's so fucking funny to me. It's so funny to me because also so many people watching the Vampire Diaries now or then are, you know, they're watching it as a fun show. They don't know vampire lore and know that vampires have to be invited in, so they don't know that context. So it's just kind of this like out of that context, like very funny moment where like he's just like, no, he can't come in, you can't invite him in.
It's like, over the last few episodes, it's a bit they use constantly, and it's always rewarding and funny. Like, it's always incredibly hilarious. They're just, like, waiting by the door like, hey, you want to let me in? Hilarious every time. I'm obsessed with it.
The other thing I don't get about this, so theoretically, Bonnie, Elena, and Caroline have been friends since first grade. If my friend since first grade rolled up to cheer practice and then to dinner later and was still wearing this fucking green scarf like her head was gonna fall off if it came off, the first thing I would do would be to clock my friend and be like, you've literally never worn a scarf in your whole life. Why are you doing it at a sports practice?
Like, what's going
Take
on?
that shit off. You look weird as hell. And
Well, I'm trying to remember, but I doesn't. God, is it Stefan who confronts her in the episode and he's like, "Why are you wearing
At dinner,
the scarf? Or can
yeah.
you take it off?" And she's like, "I can't." Yeah.
yeah, he's like, is that new? Is that, I met you 2 days ago, but is that new? That's so interesting. Claire's? Yeah, cool.
Nice.
But all she says is like, all I know is I can't take it off. And then after Damon does that like googly eye thing at her to go wash dishes, which by the way, love Caroline because she's like, I'm not gonna do I look like I wash dishes? Fuck
Right,
you.
yeah, look at me. Come on now.
I know. That's literally her response. She's like, "Do I look like a person who washes dishes?"
Love this girl.
And then he has to do the, hypnosis thing where he's like, "No, you're gonna go wash dishes," and she's like, "Okay, I guess I'm gonna go wash dishes." But, oh my god,
It's very
it's
good.
so funny to me. I don't know why. There's something deeply funny to me about like any moment in a piece of like vampire media that like they try to like hypnotize someone, because I don't know. There's something about it that just feels like, oh, you take yourself so seriously that you're like hypnotizing someone. Wow, congrats!
Yeah.
Like, big man hypnotizing someone. I don't know. There's something deeply funny to me about it.
There was a moment in this dinner party, I will say, that like, and I think it's mainly just because Ian is going 100% right now in his acting, which I appreciate. But when Elena was doing the dishes, there was a moment where they like followed up on the fact that Catherine died in a fire, which, whoa. And she does the like, so which one of you dated her first? And then later in right before they end that conversation, she apologizes to Damon because she's like, obviously Catherine was important to you. And the way that Ian looks in that moment looks like that was the first time anyone has ever apologized to Damon in his like, I don't know, fucking immortal life before. And I like Damon for the bit because I think that he's like very one-dimensional at this point, and I think that's hilarious that like his only purpose is to terrorize his brother, and I think that's funny. But there was a moment in his eyes where he was like, oh fuck, oh no, I can't just bother you to bother my brother. That was like a nice thing that you did. And I thought that was kind of cute. But I still don't like him.
Yeah, still a little shit at this juncture.
Especially at the end when he tries to do that compulsion thing and she's wearing...
Yeah, like, not the attempted assault compulsion.
Right,
like, what the
fuck
fuck,
you.
dude? Like,
this is 2 episodes now.
Yeah.
When he was like,
buddy,
you want to kiss me? And...
Right. But it's like, it's really trying to set him... It's really just trying to set his character up in, like, a specific way.
Oh,
that's
100%.
A little like...
And Miss Elena in her lace cami denim skirt is like, no, I'm wearing...
It's actually very much do not want to kiss you, but thank you.
I'm wearing my special powers necklace that my football boyfriend gave me. So no, I don't want to kiss you, actually.
Right, my football boyfriend.
He's a football boyfriend now, so fuck off, actually. So that's interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Bonnie.
God.
But she's right, though, is the thing. She was right the whole time.
Right, she's always been right.
She's always been right.
Everyone needs to listen to her numbers and her prophecies and not think she's a nut.
And
like,
stop saying
listen.
that she's just nervous. And, like, of course she's been to Elena's house this whole time, so she would know where the serving spoons are. Just, like, listen to her. For once. But thank God, this fucking horrible history teacher who would be fired so quickly, and he's a bad football coach, is gone, girl. So I don't have to worry about him anymore. So that's great.
God, I love, too, it's so real.
I hate this man so much.
Yeah, I love the dichotomy, and it's so real, because this is a lot of how American high schools work, where it's like, oh yeah, the history teacher is also the football coach, or also the health teacher, or also everything else.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off, because I
very
taught
real.
history, and I wasn't the football coach. I could have been.
Right, so like, where...
I could have been.
You're like, I deserved to be Tanner.
I could have been. I would have been a better football coach than this dude, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't the football
But
coach.
I mean, rip to that man and rip to his really burgeoning sexual chemistry with Stefan. Gone but not forgotten.
No.
That dude sucked.
No,
but
that is so true. The moment in, like, God, when is it? Is it the pilot episode where, like,
Listen.
Stefan confronts him and, like, counters his, like, fact about, like, the Confederacy or whatever, and he's like, I'm actually, like, 27
it
years old,
happens
I
like
don't know
2
why.
or
And
3 times.
The sexual tension
Listen.
in that moment
It's
between them, I was
bananas.
like,
It's
what's
absolutely
going
bananas.
on?
Like, the first time was very funny, and then it happened again, and now I'm like, you have, like, a degradation kink or something. Like, something is going on where you... Because he's like...
Right, and then literally when he tries to join the football team,
Yeah.
Tanner goes, yeah, you can join, but only because I want to, like, see you get your ass handed to you or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Listen.
oh, okay.
Listen. So,
To your
I'm
knowledge,
sure there
that's a
are
minor
plenty of fan
offense.
fictions that exist on this topic, but do not get to be realized.
I think, in my opinion, not ripped to that coach. I actually, and I was surprised about this personally. I felt a weird bit of emotion for Mark or Matt. I keep fucking up his name because I don't care. He's for him getting trauma because he just saw that coach get got the same way that his sister almost got, and he just wants to go play football because he has one brain cell.
That's his whole personality, and now he can't even think about that.
He's been worried about his sister because his sister has, like, multiple suitors, and they're always fighting after her, and he just wants to play football. Just let this guy, like, his job is football, okay?
Right. His job is football. Let him work.
The 2 things that I know about Matt are air supply and football. Just let him play football. I don't care about him. I will say that, like, that moment, though, before the coach got, when Stefan is trying to be like...
Got.
Stefan's trying to be like, Catherine's been dead for 145 years, like, you just hate me because you loved her, and Damon's like, really? Oh, yeah?
Right.
You want me, I'm just gonna be, like, nice now and, like, not terrorize you for the rest of your immortal life? Watch this. Like, your fucking football game's over. I thought it was really funny.
It's over.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run you into the ground like a football.
It's great.
Hell yeah.
But Damon is pissing me off, though, because, like, 1, crows, nope. And also, you don't just touch people's cheeks while they're sleeping, Damon.
Yeah.
Knock it
buddy.
off.
No, but isn't that exactly what you do if you're, like, a weird fucking gay-ass vampire with, like, trauma and, like, a bunch of repression and displacement, and you, like, go into your vampire boyfriend's girlfriend's, you know, room in the middle of the night and gently touch her cheek. Like, isn't that what you do?
I mean, it is.
You're making a lot of solid points, Elly.
You are.
I know I am.
You're making a lot of points. The thing is, though, that, like, if I do my full ass, like, 14-step skincare, my evening skincare routine, and then someone goes in the middle of the night and is, like, fucking touching my cheeks, and I wake up
Puts
with
their
this
greasy
zit,
paws on you.
their nasty,
Yeah.
unwashed crow hands on me, and I wake up with a zit on my cheek, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
Because
That's fair.
the only thing that we see about Elena is that she spends, like, 14 hours in the morning straightening her hair each day. She doesn't have time for zits.
Wow, God, what a 2009. Let me just say, what a 2009 mood,
Yeah.
okay? I have the fucking curliest hair, and I have incredible natural hair that I'm, like, blessed with. And
I straightened the shit out of it in high school.
I mean, part of it, yes, yeah, absolutely. Middle school and high school, part of this is, like, internalized, like, anti-Semitism thing, and, like, geeky, like, neurodivergent nerd child thing, like, the shame around that. But part of it is just that our culture was so rife with this messaging of, like, straighten your hair, wear makeup like this, wear clothing like this in, like, 2007, 2008, 2009. I mean, really, like, all of the early aughts, but I think that this was, like, a really specific time period because of media like this. And, like, I just... In like 2007, 2008, 2009, I was straightening the shit out of my hair. It took years for my hair to stop being like that damaged, and part of that was because of like media like this where you were seeing stuff like that.
Totally.
I also had no idea how to style my curly hair. Like, I had no idea the products to use. That would have been a major game changer. But the amount of, like...
Well, because we were given things like the Princess Diaries, where she literally you have this whole
every
sequence,
makeover scene in every movie and television show is like that exact thing.
Is dedicated to, no, let's not show you how to take care of your
Just get rid of it.
Let's just straighten but let's just get rid of it.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I had, like, not even fully dry hair yet, and it was, like, sizzling on my flat iron. Trauma.
Oh my God. Painful.
Yep.
Trauma. Literally, I was just going to say trauma. Flashback.
Never again. I don't even own a flat iron anymore. Haven't for a really long time.
God bless.
Oh, gosh. Next week, Cody, we have episode 4 called Family Ties.
Let's go.
I didn't look up the plot or anything on IMDb. I just pulled the first image that I saw, and it is just an image of something titled in this town Mystic Grill.
That's all you need.
I'm so excited.
It's the Bella Italia of the Vampire Diaries. I'm
so excited for Elena to fucking get mushroom ravioli at the Mystic Grill. Oh, God. We have some amazing patrons to thank. Do you want to start this off for us, Cody?
Absolutely. Thank you to Sean Salvatore.
Ooh. Thank you to Jasmine Anastasia.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Megan Pattinson.
Ooh, thank you to Katya Karp.
Ow. Thank you to Ashlyn Vogel.
Ooh, thank you to Shannon Clearwater.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Maddie Facinelli.
Ooh, thank you to Genevieve Morgan. Come on down.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Danielle Burke.
Ooh, thank you to Sophia Salinger.
Pew, pew. Thank you to Laura 40.
Ooh, thank you to Dan Zeklos.
Pew, pew, pew. And last but certainly not least, thank you to Emily O'Zara.
Ooh.
Pew, pew.
Ellie, I'm so excited to know what fanfiction that you have brought for us today.
Oh God, I have to go back to the
the curse tab.
The first tab. Oh gosh. And now it has to load. Gotta scroll. Okay, wait. So I just want to confirm that I was supposed to like just bring a piece of fanfic that's like important to me.
Anything. It can be anything.
Yeah, you can take it however you want. This is very a free space. Yeah.
Okay, so do y'all know what's your knowledge of / relation to like poetry? Like, are y'all poetry fans at all? Do you know who Richard Sykin is?
I fuck with poetry.
You've retweeted him a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. I did not realize how seen and known I was here. Great. Yes, Richard Sykin is an incredible poet. He's a gay poet. He's one of my favorite poets in the world. I have a huge tattoo on my right thigh inspired by some of his work. That's my favorite in the world. And Richard Sykin is the coolest thing about Richard Sykin. Like, the reason Richard Sykin fucks, and you can quote me on that, Richard Sykin fucks, clearly, obviously, and clearly Richard Seiken fucks because Richard Seiken is not just a legendary poet. He's also, like, the poet laureate of, like, supernatural fan fiction.
Okay, that's how I know this guy, because I keep seeing him, like, talk about Tumblr stuff and popping up on Twitter.
Like, the genre or the, like, the TV show?
The TV show. So, basically in 2009, 2009 was just what a year. In
bangers,
2009, bangers all the way down. In 2009, on Tumblr, there was, like, a subsection of Tumblr where people would take Richard Seiken's gay-ass poetry from the 90s and put the words over,
Wincest?
you know, like, supernatural.
Yeah,
totally. And, like, create fanfic using Richard Seiken's poetry, and it just became this whole thing. Yeah. It's like a lot of slash fiction that appropriates his poetry, and it became like a huge center of that part of Tumblr. And also, like, the Sherlock fandom, like, people do a lot of stuff for Sherlock. So Richard Seiken has done, like, a lot of interviews about, like, how people have used his stuff for fan fiction, and he's, like, tweeted about it a lot. And my favorite thing about Richard Seiken is he's also, like, kind of just played with this and had fun and, you know, made his own memes using his poetry and just, like, shitpost. And I fucking love that because I love when people can produce really incredible work and also not take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's how I am as a person. I always say this, like, this is part of my bio on my, like, official website, and I, like, always say this to people, and, like, the people in my life know this to be true more than anything. I am either being the most earnest, sincere fucking person in the world, or I'm shitposting to hell at any given moment. You will never be able to tell which, unless you are very close to me.
Yeah.
And that's something I love about myself. I am a brilliant thinker and writer and do so many things brilliantly, and also I don't take myself too seriously and can fucking just make memes and, like, shitposts and do whatever because I recognize that I don't always have to be so fucking precious about everything. And that's how Richard Seiken is, and so I really appreciate that he, like, makes memes out of his work and that he really enjoys the way that, like, people have used his poetry for, like, Supernatural and Sherlock and all this gay shit. And that's one of my favorite fanfic things in the world, not because it's good, but because it's so bad and it takes poetry and does something so simultaneously good and bad with it. And that Richard Seiken is just like, yeah, sure, the Supernatural, you know, the Winchester brothers as lovers, like, sure, great. You know, I won't write it, but that's cool.
Yeah, y'all have fun.
It's you run with this cultural moment and you do it. Like, he's also participated in, like, the Sherlock fandom. And like, I think he's like written Sherlock fanfic. So that has a really important place in my heart.
Absolutely.
So that is my choice.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I feel like this episode has turned itself on its head from going of me exposing you to you just casually saying the word supernatural, and me having to sit here and not feel like you have a fucking spotlight on my face right now.
Yeah.
If that's
welcome. This is what I do. People think they're interviewing me, but am I really the one interviewing you?
As if I did not spend, like, 6 years on Tumblr in the fucking Super Hulock fandom, unfortunately.
The trenches.
It's just in the trenches.
Yeah, I'm right there with you in the trenches. I was there.
God.
I was there. I have the battle scars.
I have, unfortunately, like, not only the battle scars, but the tattoos on my fucking body, unfortunately. It's so bad.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, if it makes
Welcome.
you feel any better, I was a Tumblr famous poet as a teenager. And my 16-year-old words, which are not, like, horrible, but are also, like, some of them are not, I'm just like, this is not, like, it's not really poetry, but, like, okay.
Yeah.
But my 16-year-old words from my Tumblr famous poet era are, like, tattooed on people's bodies. So if it makes you feel any better, I will, and people still come up to me when I'm at poetry events and things like that, and they're like, sorry, are you Elly Belle, as in, like, the Elly Belle from, like, Tumblr in, like, between, like, 2009 and 2015, and I have to say yes.
You don't, is the thing. You could, you don't.
You see, like, I'm actually a totally different one. Totally
I
separate.
actually spell it differently.
It's just we
I'm
look,
Elly, I'm actually Elly Baye. It's a different person. Sorry. I would never, having done VidCon events myself, I would literally rather go lie in the street instead.
Right.
I would I actually feel sweat on my body from what you have just said. That makes me feel so uncomfortable.
It's, you know, I've had to grapple with it, and I blocked it out of my memory for, like, a long time. But if it makes you feel any better because you have these, like, things, these marks on your body,
I don't, but I'm so glad.
Other people have marks on their bodies that are my, you know, shitty, angsty teenage poetry. Like, actually, if I, like, unfortunately, I can, let me see if I can find, like, just poetry? one, I mean, you know, so, like, this one post that I had that was viral from when I was, like, this was probably, like, 16 when I was on Tumblr. Like, I have so much of this out there. So much of my viral, like, 16-year-old poetry, like, I still see reposted on places on the internet, and I'm like, oh my god.
This is when you confess
but, like,
that
one
you
of them is
did poetry about the surgery on the grape. Like, that was you this whole time.
No. Oh god. No, I just wrote, like, really angsty, yearning poetry about, like, everything in my life, and some of it was honestly very, very good. Like, I'm not knocking myself, like, it was very good to the point where I have poems of mine from that time in my life in my first poetry manuscript, because it is really good and it is really poignant, and in a way that, like, I think, you know, most people would not dare to put something that they wrote at 16 in their poetry manuscript, but I must, because it was good. But then I have shit like this that is, like, one of my, like, viral things that, like, comes up on the internet constantly, and this is one line. Today my words.
Is it the she believed he lied thing?
Could you imagine?
No.
That's what people got tattooed.
Today my words are recycled. My heart is unwilling. My coffee is black, and my rage is pure. Like, whoa. Okay,
mic drop.
Like, and it's not like I wasn't experiencing things that, like, made those emotions valid and whatever. I totally was, because I was experiencing, like, abuse, and I was going through, like, a lot of shit that is very real. But, like,
he saw that and was like, okay, bet.
It's just so fucking, like, generic. And I think that one of the best things about my writing now is that I have honed the craft of writing, whether it's, like, cultural critique or essays or journalism or poetry, that my work is so my work. It's so specific. You would be able to read it and you would be like, oh, Elly wrote that. And it's so personal, and it's so, like, I don't know, just, like, specific in a universal way. And that is a skill that I have honed over, like, my entire life, and especially in the last, like, 15 years since I was this age. But, like, the thing that pisses me off about my younger poetry, or poetry from my younger self, is that, like, it's just so generic. It's just so unspecific in some ways, because I
16?
was, because,
growing.
Well, but it wasn't even that. It was because a lot of poetry that I wrote and that I didn't post online, that I was doing in, like spoken word and slam poetry spaces, because I was mentored by some of the most incredible, like, people in the world, like Shihan Van Cliff and Maida Del Valle, and like, these names probably, and Jessica Salgado, and, like, these names probably won't mean anything to you if you're not, like, in the poetry scene, but, like, I truly was mentored by some of the greatest, most brilliant poets who have so many accolades, and I was writing really good stuff in spaces with them, but the stuff that I was posting online was very much like for like it was virality shit, and it's so, and that's what's embarrassing to me, because like I didn't even post the really good stuff, you know, it was just the stuff that I knew that like other angsty teenagers would relate to and repost, so that I could like, I don't know, keep that up, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
That makes complete sense though. Like, you keep the good shit.
100%.
Yeah.
You throw the spaghetti at the wall.
Well, that was like the culture of
Exactly.
Tumblr, you know? Like, I would write something really generic, and then I would send it to my friend Mariana, who had this, like, viral, like, super followed page, and she would write it up on a typewriter, and she would...
Oh my God.
And she would scan it, and she would send it to me, and then I would post it.
And just, like,
or
put some
I would,
cigarette
like,
burn
take
marks
a
on it.
photo.
Just because, like...
No! Okay, literally, I was just about to say, I would take photos, like film photos that I had, and I would burn them around the edges, and then on the back, I would write something in Sharpie, one of my poems, and then like scan it and upload it, and that would go viral.
Wow.
If I could go back in time with
Like-
my knowledge now, I could have been making fucking millions.
Yes, 100%.
This is such a good segue, though, to knowing now that you actually have, like, the good shit that you've been saving and not just spaghetti on the wall. Where can folks go to support your work of... I mean, you're doing everything. You got essays, you got poems, you got stand-up, you got songs. Where can they go to support all of the things that you do?
I think the space that I'm most present on these days is Instagram, just because Twitter has, you know, tanked and is a place that sucks to be even more than it has ever in history, which is a shocking statement. It sucked for most of history.
Sure is.
But now it's just like sucky in such a weird specific way because of Elon and all of the shit there. So I'm mostly on Instagram, but my handles are the same across all social media. Literally, Literelly, like literally, but with my name. It's very fitting. I've had it for 14 years. I will probably.
It's a great ad. Yeah.
Right? Yes. Yeah, I'm the pun king. So I gotta. But that's where you can find me, and then you can find my like website through that. It's also literally.com. I have select like clips that I've written there, but most of the time, like when I publish a new piece, I post it on Instagram, and I have started posting my poetry there. I'm going to start posting my music there because I'm in the process of recording and producing an EP.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's where you can find my work, and I have quite a lot of books in the fire, 2 poetry manuscripts, a memoir, 3 children's books.
Amazing.
I got a lot going on.
A lot of things happening, yeah.
A lot of things happening. You know, it turns out when you're like a weird fucking autistic savant who has a lot of passions and has spent a lot of time honing the things that you care about, you just end up doing a lot.
Publishers love that shit, though.
Of things. They do. They do. They really do.
I love that.
They really do.
And if people just, in addition to following you, you know, if they ever just see a jasmine plant, just think of you and just send good vibes your way.
Why am I being so red? Wow.
Oh, so good.
Like, I'm really like, you know.
It's actually so scary. Like, Elly is too good at this.
You know
It's
more
like
specific things about me than like the person I'm dating.
Well, that's
right
because
now.
they're all
and I'm
which isn't a bad thing.
That's yeah.
It's just, listen.
No, it's a great thing.
I sometimes I just love being a Scorpio, you know? I just love knowing more about people than they do. It's just one of my great things. Anyway, so tell your friends about the pod. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the birds that you're hanging out with in the park. You know, they'll...
Yeah, if you're Elly Belle, I'll tell the birds. I'll tell the bees too.
Yeah.
I'll tell the bees too that I befriend on like a daily basis.
Tell the birds and the bees and the turtles about the pod, and they'll tell their family and their friends. Do it for me, because I definitely won't. That'll be great. And as we say here in the Pacific Northwest,
get bit.
ooh.
Ow.
Into the Twilight is an Earbud Media production. You can follow us on Twitter at Into the Twilight or on TikTok at Into the Twilight Show. You can find me at Cody Corral on Twitter and Allie at Alexandria Does. And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Into the Twilight. We have merch, so much stuff. All those links are in the episode description. And make sure to rate and review us on your favorite podcast hosting platform. It really helps the show. Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to Earbud Media Production. Earbud Media, audio for everyone.